means we have for different uses. And how do we harness that? Through boreholes. Borehole drilling, 429 in numbers, and the apportionment is given on the screen. Most of them goes for the domestic purposes for the Central Water Authority, and irrigation and industrial. And there are also 300 observation wells. What we do with that? Observation wells are wells that the name itself, as it says, we use these wells to monitor our groundwater resources, how it is fluctuating with time, with seasonal variations, in terms of the quantity, in terms of the quality. All these are very important to ensure the integrity of this resource with time. And from crude statistics that we have, it is that 54% of our groundwater resources, we have a very good quality groundwater resource in Mauritius, but 54% of that goes for the domestic supply. And what we have also noticed is that we are reaching saturation in terms of our groundwater resources. But what is very important here is that this one before last bullet, this bullet here, in terms of the 54% potable water supply, this is very important statistics. Why? Because our strategy for the wastewater sector, having our sewer, having our urban area sewer, being sewer, is because of this, what we call the central recharge zone. We have the urban area here itself, and the maximum pollution that could occur is here itself. And since 54% of our potable water resources goes for domestic, so we have to preserve that integrity of that resource. This is why that there are massive injection in the sewering of our urban areas. So all these are linked. We should not dissociate that it is only that 54% of our resources goes for that. Yes. The other thing that we would like to say that is in terms of the balance. The rainfall that we receive over the island is a very simple, simplistic computation. What we see is that 200 millimeters of rain on an average over the island, the area of the island, computed, we get that much of rain per year. And out of that, normally as a rule of thumb, what we have used is that 10% in infiltration from statistics that we have tried to see. And the evapotranspiration goes about 30%, and 60% of that is surface runoff. But this 60% of surface runoff, in fact, you will see that with later presentations, you will see that most of our strategies are being focused at this 60%, the surface runoff. Means that we are going ahead with projects for construction of dams and other major infrastructures to mobilize this surface water runoff. This is our strategy. I will discuss this in later slides. And after this balance, how do we have this? Next slide, please. How do we harness this water? In 2030, from measurements that we have done, it is the freshwater abstraction amounts to around 608 million from surface reservoirs and groundwater. And the surface reservoirs, it is from surface water. Surface water means reservoirs and river offtakes also. This 487, it is around 80% of our consumption, of our freshwater abstraction that we have carried out in 2030. And this surface water is apportioned in terms of rivers and streams and reservoirs. You see that rivers and streams still contribute much of that. Again, stressing that most of our projects that are coming is from the rivers and streams, mobilizing more resources for ensuring water security over time. Now, how do we utilize our water resources? This is a simple pie chart, if I can say the water pie or whatever. But you see that most of our water is used for agricultural and hydropower, and also for domestic. Industrial accounts for very little amount. And the total water utilization, it amounts to around 890. This is the 2013 statistics. 2014 is being computed now. And out of that, what we estimate as a normally throughout the world, internationally, we see that economically, technically feasible. It is around 30 to 40% of our rainfall that could be mobilized. This is a crude estimate, but this has been experienced at international level also. What we see is that till date we have mobilized 70% of our mobilizable potential, utilizable potential. Up to 2040, we are planning to harness, we are planning to mobilize 10%. It might appear to be a very small percentage, 10%, but we are speaking of 130 million cubic meters. 130 million cubic meters means around 6 times of Moravaca reservoir. So we need to be, this requires planning, this requires capital injection, this requires further also keeping pace with the environmental considerations. But beyond 2040, we are planning 20% more. And out of this, what we have seen today in terms of the supply of, I said in my first slide that there is practically all throughout the island, we have a full water supply system, 99.9%. And out of that, today, the Central Water Authority, who is responsible for the water services, the volume that is treated is around 270 million cubic meters, and out of that, the water sale is around 112 million cubic meters. And this difference is accounted for in terms of the losses in our pipeline. Here, it is another strategy that our ministry is taking ahead in terms of pipe replacement programs. I'll just mention it later. And this is to reduce this gap between the volume treated and the volume sold. And the network here, the network coverage is 4,000 kilometers, and there are some old pipes and the physical and commercial losses. These are the technical things. Yeah. So, and this is a bit, we carried out a master plan in 2010, and this is what we project, what will be our water requirements in 2025 and 2050. Though the 2050 horizon might appear a bit too far-fetched, but still, planning purposes is very important. Next slide, please. So, what are the threats? This is very important. In fact, I'd like to focus here more on that from our friends from SADC, that we have quite our specificities are quite different in terms of small island states. So, it's very important that at the SADC level, we need to have a special consideration, if I can say, as small islands, because our problems are slightly different as the mainlands. But I know this will require quite lots of discussions, but still, it's good that we initiate this right from today. And what we see is that it is a very simplistic but quite thoughtful saying. And the other thing is that what are the threats that we are facing? It's good that this what we see is practically in every writing these days. These have become the buzzword, if I can say. The climate change, temperature variation, rainfall patterns, etc., etc. But here in Mauritius, we are experiencing these things. I'll show you a few, a few pictures later that how it has happened. And what are the challenges here? You see that the pollution stress, the rapid runoff in terms of the topography of the island, the seawater intrusion, the limited financial resources. But here for the youth, I have put one more bullet here in terms of increasing demands and consumption patterns. This has a this has a tremendous importance in our water resources management, our consumption patterns. And this is a bit of our temperature variation. You see with time, from the year 50s, we have an increasing temperature variation. And this is a recent, in 2013, this was a very sad event. Unfortunately, I think 10 or 11 people were killed in this flood event. And this is the rainfall pattern that we have observed since 1930s. We have a decreasing rainfall pattern, and the intensity of our rainfall increasing. One of the impact of the increasing intensity of our rainfall has been in the picture as I showed for the capital city. There was a massive flooding, and this has caused lots of damage. And how do we manage our water resources? I will be explaining this institutional setup in our next later slides or later presentations. But the stakeholders involved in that are the main stakeholder is the Ministry of Public Utilities. In fact, we don't have a regulator these days. I understand that it is in a process, but the ministry today is acting as a regulator for the water resources. And then we have for the Central Water Authority, the services. The Water Resources Unit is from the Water Resources Management and Development, CB, the hydropower and the energy sector, and the WMA wastewater and the irrigation, the name itself speaks of. And these are the initiatives that we have carried out. Construction of main storage dams. This is still ongoing. And unaccounted for water, massive injection in Mauritius for pipe replacement. Reuse programs. This is from a water demand management perspective. And we have also interlinkage of our supply zones. If one of our supply zones is suffering deficiencies, then how do we account for that? We are trying to link our supply zones. And at the same time, Dr. Kenneth said that sustainability and youth, this is very important. We have also embarked on what we call a water quality surveillance program. But this is an ambitious program and we want to extend it throughout the whole island because sustainability goes hand in hand with water quality. And in fact, this will be our next initiatives throughout the strategies for the years to come. These are pictures of some of the projects that have been constructed recently. In December 2014, this is for adding more resources to the Morowakwa system. And this is a project which is called the Bagatelle Dam project. This is under construction. It is expected to be completed by December 15. And I have spilled over my time, I know, Chair, but sorry.